Although the regime controls every aspect of her life, Uvglen finds power in keeping the secret of the May Day uprising. Offred describes her as having a tight, expressionless face, which shows that she's trained herself to conceal her emotions and secrets well. Knowing bits of information that nobody else has gives Uvglen the upper hand. Only she gets to decide who's trustworthy enough to share her information with. At first, Uvglen comes off as so stinking pious, but once they establish trust in each other, Uvglen shares with Offred the valuable secret of Mayday. Offred even admits that Uvglen is her only source for this kind of information, of which she has a surprising amount. Uvglen's death is her most significant expression of power, in which she takes her own life so that the regime could never have that satisfaction. Rather than be forced to reveal the names of the other members of Mayday, she reestablishes her own power by taking her information with her to the grave. When she's stripped of all of her power, all Offred can hope for is a reconstruction of her story, so she creates it herself. Being able to tell her story her own way gives Offred a substantial amount of power. The Republic of Gilead realizes that there is power in language, and their laws reflect that. They don't allow women access to books, and they heavily restrict their communication with others, so Offred's choice to keep record of all of her experiences is extremely rebellious and risky, which demonstrates her belief in the importance of storytelling, especially when all other aspects of her humanity have been ripped away from her. Offred's unique narrative gives her the ultimate power in this oppressive society, as well as hope that in telling her story herself, she has control over the ending. Additionally, Offred's scandalous relationship with Nick goes against the idea the government enforces that sex is a chore strictly for reproduction. Throughout the book, she often uses her sexuality to her advantage and really takes joy in being a part of something that is so forbidden. Offred empowers herself in reduced circumstances by rebelling against authority in whatever way she can.
The woman that you're about to hear from is an old family friend of mine, who can probably be described as one of the happiest, most cheerful women in my life. When asked what the most painful, heart-wrenching, and utterly powerless experience in her life was, this was her answer.
Probably the hardest thing in my life ever was when our daughter passed away, and she was about 7.5 years old, and it was a real sudden thing, and like within 24 hours from the time when she had the issue and went to the hospital and passed away. She was our oldest, and Jeff was 4 years younger than her, and so obviously, that's just probably one of the worst things for parents to ever have to go through. And I remember a lot of it was we relied on friends. The night that we left the hospital after she had passed away, there were some dear friends sitting by the door waiting for us to come home. And we were at Children's Hospital in LA. They had no idea when we were going to be home, but they were there the minute we walked in the door, and to help support us and pray with us and all of those things that really matter at that time. Looking back at that very, very difficult time, it also was a time of growth and a time of relying on our faith and friends, and so many times we're afraid to ask for help and to receive help, but at that time you just do it. You just accept the help that's there and given. The thing that we're grateful for is that we had Jeff at the time, because it forced us to get up out of bed. It was a reason we had to keep moving. We couldn't just shut down our lives, and so it was a time that grateful for him to be able to say, okay, we've got to keep this family together. We've got to keep going. And so between that and our faith, those are the two things I think that were key, absolutely key, for that difficult time. It's almost like a self-talk thing. You have to tell yourself that you've got to get up and keep going. You can't allow yourself to just be totally totally feel powerless. And you've got to rely on faith, you've got to rely on friends, you've got to rely on family to be able to pull yourself back up, and you've got to keep telling yourself, okay, I can do this. There are many, many people in faith and everything that can help me to get through this. Yeah. And you do, and you come out better. Because of that, I think I am just a much more sensitive, compassionate person for people that go through anything like that. Nobody knows what it's like unless you've gone through it yourself. Yeah. And so to be able to sit with someone who has just lost, a loved one and say, I've been there, let me help you. It makes me feel good to be able to help.
In the end, it doesn't matter if it's fictional or in real life. It doesn't matter if it's psychological, physical, spiritual. Pain is pain. Pain is real. And the odds that you and I will go through trials in our lives that will leave us feeling utterly powerless is more often than not. It always happens in books and movies, but we never expect it in our own lives until suddenly we're thrown into situations that test not only our patience, but our will and even our sanity. We learned from Ovglen that when we feel powerless, we must be brave and work towards a cause that we believe in. Even if it means dying, she died for something she believed in so strongly with all of her heart, and that made her existence and even her pain worth it. We learned from Offred that we must be creative. Power comes through believing in hope, and her reconstructions of reality are a big reason of how she was able to survive each day in circumstances that were so terrible. We learned from Jean, who lost her daughter when she was only 7 years old, that we must be humble. She was willing to ask for help from family and friends, even when she was broken inside, even when she wasn't sure she could ever be whole again. The biggest lesson that we learned from all three of these remarkable women, fiction or real life, is that you have to keep going. You have to find something worth getting out of bed for, even if that means putting extraordinary amounts of hope in everyday things, like the way you perceive the world. To all of you who are struggling in your circumstances right now, maybe feeling powerless in your own situation, you have the world in front of you. We're graduating, and you have a fresh start every single day. I hope that as we graduate, you find a reason to keep going, and you find a reason to smile every single day. Happy times are on the way, I promise.